Uh, Garrett, please tell me, does anybody save the world?
Nobody saves the world, Dave. Nobody.
Hey, we did a thing.
So, yes, a lot of games came to Game Pass this week. You might have
Didn't
seen the
they though?
Hitman trilogy. You might
Yeah.
have seen Death's Door. You can literally relive the Game of Year debate on Game Pass right now yourself. But on that same day, they dropped a little game from Drinkbox Games, the creators of Guacamelee and Guacamelee 2. Nobody saves the world. Nobody, by the way, named the central character. So nobody saves the world. Nobody is a person. So nobody is saving the world. Thus, explaining the title. Yeah, this game rules. This game is so good. So it's like 2D Zelda, that kind of perspective, with it has no puzzles, so it's not a direct comparison. But it reminded me of like Wonder Boy / Monster Boy. You know those remakes where you transform into a lion and a frog and a pig and all that, and you have all these different transformations that can do different things. So it reminded me of like crossing those two games. So you play as Nobody, a character who gets a magic wand that can transform himself into multiple different creatures. So there's like a rat, there's a guard, there's a ranger, there's an egg. The egg is entirely useless. It gets his ass kicked very quickly, but there are certain points around the map where you can sit in a nest and a giant bird will fly in and sit on you, and then that's a quest. That's how you upgrade your egg. You have the giant bird sit on the egg.
Okay.
Horse, magician, slug, turtle, bodybuilder. But there's a bunch more. There's, I think, like 25. I haven't filled out the entire.
I'm not finding a theme between any of these. This sounds really chaotic.
Yeah, it's just like stuff we can come up with. It's a job system. It's like a Final Fantasy job system, basically, where it's just like, oh, you can be red mage, or you can be like necromancer, or you can do whatever you want. But yeah, the hook of the game is that you have to switch between all those characters, and the idea is that there's basically endless quests. This game just keeps throwing like side quests at you. So each of the characters has themselves like 7 or 8 different side quests, usually just involve like use this move so many times, hit this many enemies with this move. So there is literally constantly a new quest for you to do, like constantly, while you're switching between these characters. And you'd want to do the quests because in order to when you finish a quest, you get 3 kinds of points. You get regular experience, which contributes to like your overall leveling up. So you have an overall level separate from all the transformations. You get the animal specific or transformation specific experience. So whenever you complete a rat quest, the rat gets experience and you gain more rat powers. And then you get star points, which you need to use to open the dungeons in the game. So the game is constantly like throwing like little quests at you and you have to finish them. And it's just such a satisfying gameplay loop, because like I finished the first dungeon, they give you the rat immediately. So you upgrade the rat, you get enough star points to escape the dungeon. But then they give you the guard, I think it is. Yeah, the guard is the second one. They give you the guard before you can leave the dungeon. So you can just grind the dungeon to upgrade the guard as well. And as you upgrade the guard, you unlock the next character, which I think is the ranger. And you can just do that without ever leaving the first dungeon. And it's super cool that they give you like that level of freedom. And you can go, it's one of those games where it's like, yeah, the map is actually fully open. You can go wherever you want. But like the enemies up there will kick your ass, so they'll kill you. But you can go there if you want, which I think that's actually a much better way of designing these things rather than arbitrary walls. It's like, if you could find your way around these enemies, go for it, but you probably won't.
What's the combat like overall?
So each transformation has its own move, or 2 moves, and then a passive buff. So they're all mapped to the face buttons. So A is one, B is another, X and Y are another. So you have 2 specific to the character, and then as you unlock more of the characters, you can then equip 2 more abilities from the other characters, because the entire thing is each character's move has like specific traits. So there's light, dark, sharp, and blunt. And there's certain enemies that have shields, so you need to use a blunt attack to break the shield, and then you can kill it. So that like incentivizes you to use the different characters. But it's cool that you can basically mix and match. Again, it's like a job system where it's like you have your set job, and then you can use the moves from a couple of the other jobs. And again, every time I'm like, oh, I wish it would have this. It's like, oh, it does have that. The only little complaint I have is like there is a quick switch between the jobs, or between the transformations, but it limits it to like, I think it's 10 of them. And I wish there would just be a sub menu where you, and maybe I'm being stupid, maybe there is, but then you have to go into the menu and just pick one, as opposed to be able to do a quick switch on the map.
So is it just like you on the map, or like you kind of transforming into each of these people, or do you have other people with you? Is it just you on the map with the enemies?
It's just you. The game does have co-op. I think it does have online co-op as well, but I haven't tested it. So I think you can play it co-op if you want. I assume it works the same way, where there's just two of you as opposed to one of you.
Well, I've managed to get my girlfriend to start playing. I got her playing Windjammers with me last night, so she's slowly becoming a professional gamer. So I might.
This is obviously the next step.
Yeah, obviously.
But yeah.
Go on, yeah.
I think this game is really cool because it's just you wander the map, you explore dungeons. The dungeons have themes. Some of them are just like this dungeon has a bunch of dark enemies, so you have to use the dark attack to break their shield. Some of them have like modifiers, so it's like every attack does 9999 damage, both yours and the enemies. So it's like a One Punch Man kind of dungeon where it is you versus the entire dungeon. One hit dies. Another one of them was when you kill the enemies, they exploded into a series of bones. So they had every time you killed them, you had to like back off. So like it has a bunch of little cool stuff that every time you're like, all right, I think I know exactly what this is. You'll unlock a new transformation that has like new things, and like the transformations aren't just combat. Some of them have different like exploration things, like the turtle and the mermaid. There's a mermaid. They can swim, so you can use them in the water, and like the rat and the other smaller ones can fit through smaller gaps, so you can find like treasure chests on the overworld map. It's a really good game because I never played either of the Guacameles in depth. I think I like.
Oh, they're so good. Noted Guacamole fan here. This is the one reason why I want to play this game, because I love those games.
Because I bought both of them on Switch, and I think I booted both of them up for like 10 minutes. I play every game for 10 minutes, but whether or not I play them for any longer than that is a different issue. Yeah, Nobody Saves the World. I think it's a really cool game. It's one of those games where when I'm not playing it, I'm like, when can I go play that again?
Yeah, I definitely want to get to that at some point soon. The one other thing I wanted to ask, actually, I don't know, because depending on how long you've played it for, do you feel like the dungeons and the enemies, do you feel like sometimes they are trying to push you to use certain transformations that might be better in certain areas, or does it really just feel like, hey, figure out whatever works best for you and use that?
Yeah, because I think, as I said, some of the dungeons are themed around like the light, dark, sharp, blunt mechanics. So I think using the enemy whose primary attack is sharp in the sharp dungeon is probably you're going to have an easier time.
Right.
But you can equip a sharp attack on one of the transformations that doesn't have one. So if you want to brute force it with the one character you like, you can get away with that.
Does it, and it doesn't do any kind of like modern Pokemon thing where you level one or get experience on one character, it does it for all of them. You have to do them like individually.
No, like you do have an overall experience level, so like all of your stats go up when you gain a level. So you have base stats that are independent from each of the transformations. So I guess that's kind of how that works.
Right.
You can also find mana upgrades across the map.
Yeah. I'm gonna try and get some time into it, either this weekend or kind of early next week. Because I've been really looking forward to it. And I saw you talking about it on Twitter, and I was like, all right, cool. That has me excited because I hadn't really seen anything about it. I don't think I've read any reviews of it yet, so it kind of went under the radar because, as noted, about 85 games came out this week. Some of them, probably more prominent than Nobody Saves the World, but on your recommendation, definitely give it a look.
Yeah, especially because it's on Game Pass. It's this gen and last gen of Xbox, so it's on Xbox One if you don't even have the new consoles and PC. So you have no excuse. It's there for no extra cost.